Hi folks, it's James here. Welcome to another video. I was going to do another Sunday evening listening couch video this evening, but I decided not to do one this week. I don't necessarily want to do that every week. You know, sometimes you make a rod for your own back. I've been doing a bit of listening, but nothing too serious this week, so I thought I'd save it for another week for when I've been doing some more concerted listening. So I thought I'd make up for it by doing a quick vinyl update. I know Richard McCook was asking me last night. He seemed very keen to know what I've been picking up recently, so this one's for you, Richard. Alright, so in the background you can hear this record. Picked this up from Heightside Record Stand in Lancaster last week. This is Oi Listen from Cayman Records, New York City, Los Más Caliente in Latin music. I can tell from the cover this is going to be fantastic, and it is. It contains various different bands and artists there. I've not heard of any of them, but you know, you've got Rumba on here and Son and the Cha-Cha and the Mambo. Artists include Bobby Rodriguez, Alfredo Valdez, Monguito, El Unico, La Sonora, De Barro. You know, I've not heard of any of them, but it's just good time Latin music. And Global Style Records out of London, actually. Nice pick up. This is from Bernardo's, I think. Nat King Cole don't usually pick up his records. I have a CD compilation, but I couldn't resist this one because the cover was so beautiful. Capitol Stereo, the full spectrum of sound. So not living stereo, but I'm not sure how that relates to that. It seems to be a French EMI pressing. So yeah, you know, Nat King Cole was incredibly influential and just an absolutely brilliant singer, vocalist. He was meant to have one of the greatest microphone techniques ever. I think, I think Frank Sinatra was quite influenced by him. On the same visit to Bernardo's, I picked this record up. This looks really interesting. Only in America. It's basically music from New York, from the late 1950s and the early 1960s. You've got things on here such as Going Out of My Head, which is done by Little Anthony. You've got the Clovers, Garnet Mims, I'll Take Good Care of You. Marv Johnson, You've Got What It Takes, which is an old Motown song, that's by Berry Gordy. The Isley Brothers, Who's That Lady? The Exciters, Do Wah Diddy Diddy. East Coast Teen Rock, it's subtitled that, so you're talking kind of, you know, pre-Beatles American vocal pop music. All good fun. Hugely influential, yet again, on artists such as Robert Plant, you know, people like that. Right, a couple of absolutely classic 60s pop compilations. This one, The Move, I do have a lot of Move compilations already, but this is one that I didn't have in my collection. It's possibly the most sort of well-known one. On Music for Pleasure, the Horses cover, and it's got Flowers in the Rain. Here we go, Round the Lemon Tree, which is on their first album. Fire Brigade, one of their great hit singles. Beautiful Daughter, which is from the Shazam album. Brontosaurus, Walk Upon the Water, Blackberry Way. It's quite an interesting compilation. It goes through various phases of their career, and I got that one from the Antique Centre here in Lancaster. It was only, I think it was about £3 or £4, so I couldn't leave it there. And then this one again, another kind of classic 60s compilation. You know, you see this one around. It's the 60s Status Quo, pictures of Matchstick Men, Spicks and Specks, which was a Bee Gees song, of course. And I have been picking up Status Quo records lately, you know, as in their 1970s work, so I thought it'd be quite good fun to add that one to the collection. Right, so yesterday in Lancaster I had a little mini VC meetup with Headley, another fat bearded man talking about records who was passing through. We met up, we went to Heightside Records market stand, and we also went to a couple of charity shops, and Headley picked up a load of stuff, much more cheaply than me. He picked up twice as many records but spent, I think, a third of the money that I spent, so he knows something I don't. This is one of the cheaper things I picked up yesterday, and really pleased with this. This cost me £4, and it is a double album of the Monkees. And it's just basically their greatest hits. So yeah, I was really chuffed with this because I've not got any Monkees on vinyl. I've got the Head soundtrack on CD, and last week I showed a Michael Naismith album, which is the first album by him that I've got. but didn't have any monkeys on vinyl, so that was good. 4 sides of vinyl, £4, so that's £1 per side. Even my maths can work that one out. Okay, so moving sort of slightly up now in terms of the quality of the record, shall we say. This one from last week at Outside Records, just another Dylan for the collection. Shot of Love, one of his Christian efforts. You know, not his best album of that period, but it's, you know, it's got some good songs on it. Shot of Love is a good song. Every Grain of Sand is a classic. You know, it was in really good condition, and it was, I think it was under a fiver, so I thought I'd grab that. By the same token, very, very nice condition on this. This is Flame. Not spun this one yet. Kind of starting to get a bit further into Slade now. I do find Noddy Holder's voice quite hard work sometimes, but you know, they're a great 1970s classic band, aren't they? So I couldn't resist that for the price. And this one I was really, really pleased with this. A friend of mine had bought this the previous week at Hindsight Records, and I'd actually dug it out of the box for him. But I sort of wanted it, but my friend is a big Dylan collector, and so I thought I'd pass it along to him. And then, but the guy at Hindsight said, I think I've got another one, and if I have, I'll bring it along next week. And sure enough, he did have another one, and he did bring it along. So this is the Basement Tapes, Bob Dylan and the band, the historic Basement Tapes. I've had this one on CD for many, many years, and I've only been listening to it a couple of weeks ago. In fact, I might try and feature it on the Sunday evening listening couch, because it's a very interesting record. Double album, of course, and one of the most influential records of all time. You know, I mean, not so much this edition, but the bootleg version that was around in the 60s went on to influence the Beatles and the Stones. Everybody listened to it. It kind of changed music, really. I think it was partly the reason why Eric Clapton, you know, left Cream and just went down a different furrow altogether. And obviously, you know, country rock springs from the band's loins, shall we say, and this record was put together in the 1970s finally, and got a release. So yeah, great condition, and nice to have that one on vinyl. Okay, so I spent a little bit more on this one. Again, this is from Outside Records. This is Bob Marley and Uprising, which I didn't realise was his last album. I listened to a lot of Bob Marley back in the 90s, but it was mostly on compilation tapes that friends had made for me, and you know, the albums are all mixed together on these tapes, and so I never really knew what songs were from which albums. A few years ago I did start to pick up some of the albums on CD, and now I've got a fair few on vinyl as well. So I need to go back and do a concerted listen to Bob's back catalogue and properly try and work out, you know, which songs go where. I had no idea that Redemption Song, for example, was the last song on his last album, so that's quite interesting. There we go. And the last one that I've got to show you for today, totally thrilled to find this, again at Outside Records. This was going back a couple of weekends, and this is XTC and the Big Express, one of the ones I didn't have. Still got some gaps in the XTC collection. Still don't have Mumma, don't have Oranges and Lemons, don't have None Such, don't have the final 2 albums on vinyl, but at least this now plugs a gap. This was a very unsuccessful record for them. It was probably their most 1980s sounding work. It's a bit kind of clattery, it does have a dated sound, but it's got some great songs on it. One of my favourite XTC songs is on here, which is I Remember the Sun, which is a fantastic song by Colin Moulding, but also you've got This World Over, which is Andy Partridge's great 1980s anti-nuclear song. Really great track, really great kind of atmospheric keyboard part on that song, a kind of haunting melody. Fantastic stuff. XTC and the Big Express. There is an edition of this which has a circular cover, but you know, beggars can't be choosers. Alright folks, that's it I think. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll be hopefully back later in the week for more videos. So take care, have a great week, stay safe, bye bye.